Hello, it is October 14th, 2021, and this is the weekly Backdrop Developer Meeting. We get together every week to talk about the latest news in Backdrop and priorities for core development. This week is a special meeting of sorts that we're continuing to do planning for Backdrop 1.21. That's the next minor version of Backdrop that'll be coming out January 15th, 2022. So before we get started, we'll do some quick introductions of the team members present. My name is Nate Lampton. I'm Quick Sketch on the internet, and I live in Oakland, California. Let's go to Joseph, if you could give us an introduction.
Hi, my name is Joseph. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm a backend developer. And yeah, Luke.
I'm Luke McCormick. I'm in San Ramon, California, and I'm going to be anonymous this week. I'll go over to Robert.
I'm Robert Lang, bug folder on the internet, coming to you from Altadena, California. I'll pass it to Tim.
Hi, my name is Tim Erickson. You can find me at St. Paul Tim, and I'm from Deerwood, Minnesota right now. Thank you. Who's left? Sarvashri, are you still here? He might not still be here. Who else is left? Anybody?
I'm here.
Okay. Sorry, Jen.
All right. Jen Lampton, joining from Oakland, California. Very grateful for all of the amazing stuff that's happening in Backdrop right now. Okay, back to you, Nate.
All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. So I will share my screen, and we don't normally share screens during these meetings, but today is special. Let's see, Peter, we just finished with introductions. Do you have an opportunity or a second to give an introduction? Sorry, that was sprung on you right as you were joining, so. All right, I'll go ahead and share my screen then. All right, are you guys seeing the Google Doc here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so recap of what we did last week and kind of what we're doing this week as well is we took the survey results from about a year ago, actually. And the survey was an opportunity for people to propose features that they thought would be of value in Backdrop Core, and then we did it like an open voting period. The survey has been closed and we haven't done a new one since then, but it still forms a pretty good basis for some of the major features that people are interested in. It is a little bit out of date now, so this isn't exclusive of all of the things that could be in 1.21, but it's a really good starting point. Last week, what we did is we went through and discussed the state of all of the top issues in the survey. And in addition to that, we sized them out in terms of like figuring out exactly how difficult something is to kind of give a sense of how viable it is or match up people's, any volunteers like a level of effort with the amount of like difficulty that the task is. So we sized them out into t-shirt sizes, which is kind of like a project management strategy. Small is relatively simple, medium are challenging but straightforward issues. Large are complex, high effort, possibly broken across minor versions, or an unclear direction. And then extra large are things that need specialist or design feedback, API breaks, and possibly things that we might not even be able to do within the 1.x release. So extra larges actually probably aren't really even candidates for 1.21 at all. But it's, if we run across them, it's good to at least acknowledge the fact that some of the things might not actually be feasible to do in the next release. So I'm not sure if we should go through every one of these here, but you can kind of get a sense here of the items that we've done so far. I was thinking we would start from the bottom of the list, or not the bottom of the list, but the unfinished ones, because we only got about 2/3 of the way through this list last week. But we have add field group functionality to core, allow multiple file and image uploads, adding reference module to core. Actually, you know what? While we're doing this, we're still looking for advocates for all of these issues, and since we have a slightly different group than last week, it might be a good idea to like see if anybody's interested in any of these things. Jen, in particular, since you're here this week and you weren't here last week, we're looking for an advocate for reference module.
Yeah, I just upgraded that from medium to large based on my work on the current contrib module.
Uh-huh.
I think it's gonna need more work. I'm not sure we can do it in 121. I would be more comfortable with more work on it in contrib first to get some of the missing features added and then moving it later.
Okay. Yeah, if it, yeah, I think that we had kind of categorized it as challenging but straightforward. But I'm guessing maybe you're saying complex and high effort might factor in here
Yeah,
more strongly.
it's not too terribly complex, but there's just so many features that are like provided by things like entity reference that people will expect that we don't have because it was built in like the simplest possible way. And that makes it challenging to use on real world use cases. So just a lot of high effort, I think, is the problem there. A lot of work.
Interesting. Yeah, well, I guess the scope of this one, this one we've been struggling on for so long. It's been a very long time that we've been trying to put this one together. I think that we have done our best to try to de-scope as much as possible to just say, let's get a bare minimum into core. I think we've even sidelined things like upgrade paths into contrib, or at least we're proposing that. So I guess I'm curious if there's some of the things that you're describing, if they're prerequisites for putting it in core, like where the boundaries there.
Views integration, field formatters, widgets. It's just like right now there's only one widget and it's autocomplete, and there's only one way to display it and it's label. So in the views integration is there, but not reliable.
I think I fixed it. I think I fixed all the views integration stuff. Unless you mean unless you're talking about something else but I made like 4 or 5 pull requests in the last year to fix views integration stuff.
Yeah, I merged most of them. I think there's one in the queue I haven't merged, but I'm still having some problems on sites using references with views. So I will throw things in the issue queue as I find them, but yeah, I'm not sure I would call it core ready.
Okay. Well, I thought I had at least fixed the view stuff.
I think the forward relationships are fine. It's the reverse ones so again, that's something that like could be postponed or pushed to contrib, but
okay,
it's one of those things that's provided by reference modules that people use today.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm not sure I don't think there was any voicing of official advocacy for this, but yeah, Jen and Joseph, I'm glad to see you guys are at least, still putting effort in from time to time. Okay, let's see.
Slow and steady.
Tim, are you saying something? You're muted.
I turned on my video, but that doesn't help, does it? I was starting to say, it sounds fair to say that the best way to help with the references module in the core would be to just use it heavily and report bugs.
Yes, that would be great.
So if more people could, if people are using reference module and they're spotting any kind of bugs or anything, please report them, and that will help us get it into core.
All right, let's keep going. So we've got the add recipe type or recipe project type to backdrop issue 3763. This one has made a lot of progress in 1.20, that now a lot of the tasks around recipes are kind of deciding which way we want to take it, and possibly outside of core, like if backdropcms.org needs to start treating recipes in some special way. So this one's marked small because the effort within core is really pretty, well, there doesn't seem to be a lot left to do here within core itself. So it's even been proposed that we close out this issue and make new ones possibly.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jen.
I was just asking if we had a clear scope on what was left, but it sounds like that's like step one of this issue, is to figure out what comes next. So never mind.
Yeah, exactly. Adding an icon font to core, a issue 364. This one's interesting. If you check out that issue 364, there's new proposals that are in there. The state of the web is also changing pretty quickly here, that SVGs now have all kinds of new options, and even some of the existing icon fonts like Font Awesome are potentially moving to SVGs. So it's not really actually clear which direction we would go with this approach. This may actually kind of morph into add an icon font into core. It might actually be something more like a use vector icons might actually be the way that one ends up shaping.
So this is another one where like the current proposal solves 4 problems, and it's phrased as one of them, which is like providing a utility for people to add icons. But if the solution is replace our icons with other icons, that's a very different thing than provide something for everyone to add any icon. So this could use a scope control on it, as well as technical decision. I think, was it Wes that wrote something? There's something really cool in there you guys should take a look at.
Yeah, Wes put forward a new option, but then Indigo Zella followed up with an even different, like a more different one that Wes was like, oh, that's even better, possibly. So yeah, so there's a lot. This is what I was saying in the last meeting, that there's like new options here that it's like, oh wow, we've got lots of good ways of solving this problem technically.
Well, which problem? I think so. That's my point, is that I think these are all solving a problem that the issue wasn't. It would like I don't know. I think we need to rescope the issue and either like repurpose this one for the problem that Wes and Zeller are solving, and open a new one for how to provide a utility.
Yeah, because you're absolutely right that like something like an icon font would provide hundreds of potential icons for general purpose use.
Yeah.
And one thing that at least has benefited this issue is that, like, if I just go to, oh, I thought I was logged into one of those sites. Let's see if I'm logged into backdropcms.org. I am not. I am logged into the event site though. One thing that has benefited this issue is that we started using icons in a lot more places. So we have icons to replace now. So all along the admin bar here, and then all within the config section, we've got icons placed here. So there's a lot of things on which we can potentially place the replacements, as opposed to when this was filed originally, that it was more geared towards that utility of like, oh, think of all the things we could do if we had an icon font, as opposed to now where we have very clear places that we could replace icons. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, Jen, I totally feel what you're saying here. This one, I feel like maybe there should be like a separate issue for this.
Yeah.
And leave the icon font kind of problem alone, like separate up.
But all the work,
general utility.
I almost feel like we need a new icon font issue, and this one just needs to be renamed, because this is all the work that's happening for the alternative solution is in this issue, and I would like that. I don't want that to get lost. I also think though, for our survey, people might not have been voting on we want to improve core. They might have been voting on I need this feature for my website, and doesn't have anything to do with core. So having a new survey result on that could be useful.
Well, at the time when that was run, we did have the Font Awesome module.
Yeah, yeah,
So there was a contrib solution at the time we did that.
yep.
All right, let's keep cracking here. We actually have less time than usual this meeting because the outreach meeting ran pretty long. Let's see, next up, automatic updates. State of this, there's a lot of code that is already implemented. The direction forward is actually reasonably clear. Candidates for advocates include myself and John Franklin, who did a whole bunch of work on the digital signing of packages. So there's a lot of work to be done here, but it's all pretty straightforward, we think. There's a lot of things for us to pull from. All right, I'll just keep cruising along here. Exposed fields to visibility conditions, issue 4728. To medium.
That has a question mark, but there's already a contrib module for it.
Oh, well,
So you
excellent.
don't need the question mark.
Dr. Okay.
Mark wrote it. It's great.
Is it comprehensive? I know that was the problem with the core issue, is that it originally started as like a small scoped thing and then it kind of turned into a big scoped thing.
The contrib issue is comprehensive with a terrible user interface because it's comprehensive. So it says stuff like entity and bundle, right? But it sort of had to be that way. The core solution is very mildly scoped, but has a clear user interface. So the next steps would be to figure out how to either take the user interface changes from the current pull request and put it into the contrib solution, or figure out how to take the contrib solution and repurpose it for as not a separate module.
Yeah. Would you be able to post a comment here, Jen, in this issue? Because we haven't seen any activity in here since August. Sure. I didn't know that there was a contrib solution for this already.
Yeah, it's, I think, in there.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't released the contrib module yet, he says, back in August.
Yeah, I can post a comment with a link to it.
Cool. Okay. Views bulk operations, allow bulk operations for updating any entity values, issue 4401.
So this one we can't do in contrib because core removed the ability for views bulk operations to use forms.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to build something into that process in order to allow configuration forms. I have a attempt at doing this in contrib that failed. It doesn't mean it's not possible, but I think it would be good to look at it with like a possible API addition in mind.
Yeah, maybe this is one that I need to post a comment on, because we do have forms on which bulk operations apply. Canceling a user account is a good example because you have to specify how the user account should be canceled. There's 4 different choices. And Backdrop Core already provides, it doesn't provide, but it manages to make a form work with a bulk operation. In this case, the bulk operation, actually, the bulk part is actually just storing the list of user IDs that need to be canceled and then taking you to a form that actually processes the list of users. And so that's the way that Core has managed this. Like if you need configuration on your bulk operations, you make a dedicated form and the bulk operation is just storing the list of IDs.
Okay.
So
I think that's a little different from how VBO handled it.
It definitely is different.
Yeah. So yeah, if you could add a comment, that would be great.
Okay, then we have exposed file name filter for media library dialog. This one was finished in 120. Better taxonomy permissions. This was fixed in 120. And that brings us to this upgrade UI. And this one, this issue 4345 kind of actually diverges a little bit from what it seems like the stated title of the issue is. That this issue covers a lot of like preparing your Drupal 7 site for moving into Backdrop rather than providing a user interface like migrate module that lives within your Backdrop site that you would point at a Drupal 7 database.
There is a, I'll go reread the issue.
Okay, but this one is another pretty good contrib candidate, I think. And Jen, actually, what I've seen or heard you do several times is actually using like something like feeds and kind of that providing a migrate-like capability.
Oh, yeah, no, this wasn't actually about migrating. This was about upgrading, but it was providing like a user interface for import your database here. So rather than like taking content and putting it into the existing Backdrop site, the Backdrop site would only exist until you imported your Drupal 7 database, and then it would disappear and your Drupal 7 database would take over. So it's much less like Drupal 8 and more like a user interface for the update.php script that we run.
Oh, yeah, that's very different.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. Maybe this issue needs a new title because that is not similar to Migrate UI in Drupal at all.
So the similar to Migrate UI was the form. It looks identical. Upload your database here. That's it. It's the only similarity.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think Drupal actually, well, I don't know. I don't think Drupal uploads the database. I think it's like enter your database credentials, but more or less kind of the same.
Doesn't the Migrate UI also allow you to build content and field mappings and like dynamically build
It would have to.
your
Yeah.
migration path?
Yeah.
I don't think that it does it dynamically. I could be wrong, but I think you can do it all with YAML files. I think that's the way that it functions, is that you assemble things with YAML files and then the user interface executes those YAML files as they're configured. So it's not quite, I don't think the Migrate UI in Drupal core is end user serviceable, other than like the out of box migrations that it includes, where it's like a one-to-one mapping.
Okay, that sounds very different from when I was last looking at it.
Yeah, we should ask Irina. I think she's done entire migrations from the interface in Pantheon. So I think there is a way to do it from the UI.
Okay, yeah,
Well,
I might not be using it the same way other people are.
It's possible that it's because the Migrate UI got rewritten like 5 times during the Drupal 8 development. So it's possible that we're all remembering different states during the Drupal 8 development.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this one though, I think is again like it's a really good contrib candidate. There's no real strong reason. I mean, there's a strong reason to include it in core, but there's no strong reason that needs to be built in core.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Merge all of the update pages into a single page, issue 2714. This was done a long time ago, actually, in 119. This issue I love. Select all items on all pages for views bulk operations, issue 3798. Yeah, there's no progress there. Nobody has taken a stab on this
Are
one
we
yet. other
adding
than some initial
sizing?
research. What?
Do we want to add a t-shirt size?
Oh yeah, a size. Totally. We got into the new section.
Yeah.
This would probably be a medium, don't you think?
Aren't we just adding a link?
It's not just adding a link because select all items on all pages, it would need to, I mean, yeah, you need to take the views query, remove the pager, and then apply the operation to everything. So it's not exactly just adding a link, because that link actually has to
Do
Well,
something.
do something. Yeah, exactly. The user interface for it also could use some work. I think in this case, like here we go. This is what it looks like right now. I noticed that I'm not quite sure if this shows up dynamically, but I noticed in Gmail, when you do a check all thing, this row shows up dynamically. That only happens when you check this box, because it's like when you're trying to select all, it tells you, yeah, exactly this. I'm not sure how this works. I've not actually seen it, but that's what I would like to see, where this doesn't happen all the time. It only happens when you check the box.
Okay. All right. I'm fine with medium.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Be nice if it was small, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, this one's a great one, because it's yeah, there's already an existing code base to pull from. It's not a real big enhancement. Yeah, but it would be a great like release feature.
So if I could inject right now, I think Greg suggested last time that it would also be nice to rate each in terms of their impact. And I don't know exactly, we'd have to define what impact means, but one definition of impact that Luke might appreciate is PR value. Like has something that really we can promote. And I don't know that we need to go through and write them all that way, but it might be nice at the end of this to like pick one or two that we think would have the most sort of value, or add the most value to Backdrop to new users.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see. These get decreasingly important, actually, as we move down here, because we start getting into ones that, like only received 5 votes, and they weren't super popular at the time.
Yeah.
But let's keep going for now.
I'll interject, since I was name checked there, that I was pondering that as we're going through this list, and then like I was thinking of them, then it was poof, like you go next one, it goes away. So maybe a metaphor like T-shirt size for like market impact, if there's some other kind of visibility, some kind of thing like that, if there's a metaphor. All right.
Yeah, maybe something else other than small, medium, and large might be beneficial here, just to separate out the, I guess, like we can do like high, low. Unfortunately, medium is the same word. Yeah, what would you guys prefer? Should we go ahead and add that column now and do ratings, or should we continue going through the list, do you think?
I think maybe we should just finish the list first.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think we'll be able to do both of them in the remaining time.
We'd have to go back and do all the others, so.
Yeah. Okay, next up is moving the title display settings to the managed display form, issue 1950. This issue, there's a really similar issue as well. This issue has actually been closed a couple of times and then reopened because people keep getting confused about the scope of it. But there's a very similar issue for this, that is moving the title settings to the manage fields thing. So there's 2 of them here. There's one for managing the title settings as the field form, and then there's managing the title display on output. So both of these issues, I think, are valuable. I'm not actually sure exactly how complicated this is, though.
So moving title display is going to be really hard, because it's going to affect all of our template files, because right now the title is hard coded. everywhere. But moving the title configuration to the form page is straightforward because it's just a matter of moving a form that saves config. If we want to change where the configuration is saved and move it to like a field configuration setting rather than the node type configuration setting, it's a little harder because right now we have to sort of save things in two places. And if we save it in one place, I'll have to write an update hook to move it all to the one place we're checking. But the display is tricky because people will want to change the display settings.
So
So,
there's a contrib solution for that already,
yeah,
also known as display suite.
or title.
Oh, no.
Title field also does it. But I think, so the only reason that this is hard is because we have to worry about backwards compatibility with themes. I think it's a good candidate for Backdrop 2, as long as we're okay with breaking themes from 1 to 2, which we haven't decided yet. But I think we probably will be.
So are you saying this is an extra large?
I would say large.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's not even that much change. It's just dangerous.
Yeah, you could probably manage it somehow by, wiping out the title value, like giving it a null value or something like that.
But if you'd overridden your node template,
yeah, you'd have an empty H1 or something like that,
Yeah.
probably. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely some challenges there. Speaking of definitely some challenges, cache tags and cache max age, very challenging issue. And Joseph, I know that you'd started it, and I kind of hate to even ask you for the status of things, but here we are. So if you could give us the status
Okay,
and your take on sizing, that would be helpful.
Size extra large. Let's just start there. I don't think shoot. So Backdrop, like we're trying to target smaller sites. There's two things. We're targeting smaller sites, which will not benefit from this much because they have fewer pages to cache as a whole. And then also because our render pipeline is way faster than Drupal 8's render pipeline, we actually get a lot less benefit from it. So I don't think the benefit we gain is worth the amount of complexity it will add to the caching system and to properly configuring your cache system, your cache backends. That being said, the module is in contrib and does work, the D8 cache module.
Well, I think that in itself is very valuable. That I didn't even know that there could be a contrib version of this. What's it called?
So the module in Drupal 7 is called D8 cache.
Oh,
I think I named it the same in our contrib repo, but what I did when I was working on this is I started by porting that module, and then once I had finished porting it and I felt I understood how it worked, then I started taking each of the pieces and putting them into the correct spots in core. But after doing that, I'm not sure that it's really worth the increased complexity for most sites.
yeah. Well,
That might be worth paying John Franklin, because that could be something that would be a really good fit for Silkscreen.
yeah, curious about that. If you would find there to be value there.
Yeah.
But Joseph, thank you for that synopsis. That sounds very helpful. And I would generally also agree that the reason Drupal 8 and 9 added so many layers of additional caching is because things slowed down so dramatically. Even now using Backdrop sites, I'm just like, just shocked at the instantaneous responses of everything that you do in it. I'm just like, oh, it's so fast.
I just like to throw out there that like if we just set aside performance, there is a lot of value in cache and validation. And we can do that with cache tags and we can't do it without. And that's something that I think we should consider too, because I know even for people with small sites, it's really frustrating to like see your change on the page and be like, I see it, and then tell someone else and they're not logged out and they're like, I don't see it. And it's like, well, it's because you were looking at the page from 5 minutes ago. And if we had the ability to identify when a page needed to be purged, that would make people a lot happier.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree with that. The benefit of being able to integrate with CDNs and tell them when they need to purge pages. And maybe we just don't need a very complex system for that, that we could descope it to things like, oh, maybe this only really applies to like node pages and views, something like that, where it's like not comprehensive, but is like a,
80%.
80%. Yep.
Yeah.
I'd just like
maybe.
to point out that in my view, when we've talked about this in the past, there's often been a perceived that the marketing value might be higher than the practical value, in that a lot of people seem to come asking if we have that. And, so, well, one, I'd just like to point that out, that there might be some marketing value. But if we decide it's just not worth the marketing value, which is certainly a good choice to make, maybe what we need is like a blog post or something which talks about, hey, we looked at this. This is why we don't think we need it.
Well, another thing too is like if we did descope, we might be able to get the marketing value because people would say, do you have cache tags? And we could say yes.
Yes.
But asterisk, and then have like more explanation on that. So there might be a sort of an easy win somewhere in the middle there. Maybe not.
Right. I guess. Yeah, I guess I could reduce the complexity a lot if I just made it only work with like whole pages instead of making it work with everything.
Yeah, that'd be a huge first step anyway.
Because right now I think there's actually 4 cache backend classes in the module, and they have all this weird stuff in there that track like, did you add JavaScript to your form in a block in a thing?
Yeah.
Like we could just cut out all of that.
Yeah.
What else is really surprising as far as like return on value is I don't think WordPress even includes a page cache still today, which is just incredible.
There's a plugin.
I think their most downloaded plugin is a plugin that adds a sort of pseudo page caching.
Yeah. So maybe it is important in WordPress. It's just like, I don't know, they're kind of like a Apple in the regard that it's like they kind of decide what's best for their users, But yeah. Okay. Let's see, we're almost done.
I have actually looked at their database class, and it is bigger than Drupal's database whole abstraction thing.
Surprising.
Because a huge portion of how they generate their pages is actually embedded in their database abstraction thing.
All right, let's move on to the next one. This is about the login page and making the login better. Did this end up? Is this the one that we were talking about using the admin menu to do the login? Is this, or is that a different issue? I think it might be different. Well, anyway.
No, this is different. This is just a aesthetic change to the login, password reset, and register pages. So rather than having those weird Drupal-y tabs, we just have links at the bottom of the form.
Yes. Yeah. This is so great. I would like. It's so simple conceptually.
Drupal loves tabs.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I'm not sure where this one stands then. It seems like we've had a lot of discussion about it.
I would make this size on this one small.
maybe is the direction clear? I mean, it might be, okay, yeah, I guess.
There's some concern, same thing about like front end. If you have styled the tabs, but not styled links on your form, and we make this change in Lambda-X, there's going to be implications for those forms.
Yeah. Yeah, that there could be themes that like sites that are out there. Yeah, this one's tough to evaluate. It would be nice if we had telemetry that could tell us some kind of indication of like how many sites are using their login form for public login. And I don't know actually how to determine that. It's not coming to me off the top of my head, you know, because a lot of sites, the login form isn't really seen by anyone other than administrators. Okay, let's see. Make backdrop sites perform better out of the box for Google PageSpeed, issue 3302. This one's a meta issue and it covers like a lot of different concepts. I don't even think that there's much discussion about exactly how we would go about implementing even any of these. So it's a bit vague.
Yeah, I think this should be labeled large or extra large because it's got so much stuff going on, and it might be better to de-scope it into individual issues to tackle some of those smaller problems, rather than having the meta be the issue we're voting on.
Yeah.
And I do think that like the reason I want it to be large or extra large is because one of the things that will help the most is completely changing the way JavaScript is added to the page. And that's likely to break everything. So.
Yeah. I worked with Jen on one of her websites a while back on improving page speed. And one of the biggest things that actually helps is moving all your JavaScript into the footer, which pretty much breaks anything that depends on the backdrop class or the jQuery class.
Which is almost everything. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. The saved draft module in core issue 3157. BW Panda had been an advocate for this one at one point, but had kind of withdrawn his candidacy there. I think that the ambition of this one is not actually as high as it sounds. This doesn't have anything to do with forward revisions or anything like that. It's really just about changing the action buttons on the node form to reflect what will happen when you click the button.
There is a lot of user interface complexity here, especially now that we have scheduling. So even though the technical challenge is low, I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth on user interface changes.
Yep. So maybe this one should be a medium, challenging but straightforward.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Let's see if we can get the last two in the next 2 minutes. Adding a site architect report, issue 4691.
Huh.
Yeah, I know we're getting into some pretty low priority issues in my opinion. And this one I posted a comment on just right before the meeting. Yeah, Peter kind of added the same thing, that this is potentially a contrib candidate. But the idea here is that we have a single report that outlines exactly how your site is built.
Huh.
Are you surprised at this, Jen? That
Yeah, because I wrote this for Drupal, and why did I not remember that I made this issue for Backdrop? I don't know, maybe I did at the same time. Interesting. Okay. So is that number in the column next to the size, is that the number of votes this got?
That is correct. Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, and these are ordered by priority. So
Yeah.
I think this came up in a meeting right around the time of the survey, which is why it got some attention.
Okay.
No, actually well, yeah, okay. To me, I mean, this is the kind of issue that feels like also the marketing value might be a little bit big, because anything that sort of exposes to users how their site works has some marketing value that might exceed its.
Oh yeah, no, I desperately want this, but it seems like I remember a Drupal 7 module that does exactly this. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but
so the backdrop upgrade status module does this because I just wrote that, and I think that would be really easy to adapt just that report. So yeah. Interesting. There might be another module, Luke, that's specifically for that purpose, but might have saved me some time if I'd found it.
All right, we'll try to get this one last issue here, and that is this collapsible blocks capability. Looks like this one is in the state where, you know, we're kind of still brainstorming about what it is that this would actually, what it would actually be used for. Quick kind of saying possibly after the dashboard.
This is a good contrib candidate too. It would be pretty easy to make a new block class that used like a details element instead of a div, and problem solved.
Yeah, and it looks like when this issue was originally opened, it definitely was talking specifically about dashboard, because collapsible blocks would have maybe a mixed amount of utility on the front end, because people have so many different ways that they want to present content.
Yeah, I mean, I think the motivation was that, like that welcome block that we have takes up a lot of real estate, and it would be nice to be able to collapse that if you no longer needed it. Making it a contrib solution probably doesn't solve that problem, because it's unlikely anybody would install a contrib module just to solve that small problem. If we could do it in core, it would be great, but
I think that doing a contrib module first might be a good indicator of how much work is required. And I think it might be really little. Like, so we've got a couple options. We can make a new block class, but we could also make this a setting. You know how we have like the normal blocks that use the block template, and then we have the like adjustable blocks. We could just have another option there that's like collapsible block, and that, you know, could integrate really nicely, and it would be easy to change existing blocks to, so like it would be easier to apply to current sets. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. All right, well, we're out of time. I have another meeting that I need to get to, I'm afraid. But this little exercise we might not be done with quite yet still. I mean, we're talking about the impact rating. We may still take a third pass at this list, possibly to see if we can decide which of these are actually important rather than just how big they are.
Can we do a backdrop live session?
yes.
Oh, that would be kind of fun. The timing would fit really perfectly there.
Yeah.
But it would probably end up being just like this meeting, kind of in format. It's just that we would get a different group of people. So, yeah. Well, Jen, you seem excited about it. Are you writing a session right now?
Apparently I am.
Good.
Okay.
Say, you can do any session you want, Jen. You just got to nominate it.
Well, first I have to find the spreadsheet. But.
All right. Well, I think we need to drop off. But thanks to everybody here for participating for the discussion. The actual execution of all of this, I'll remind everyone again, or just say it out there, that just discussing these says no guarantee of actually implementing anything. That we're really just trying to get a feel for what opportunities are before us, and see if there's any enthusiasm among those present or those listening to take on some kind of role in this, whether it's as a tester, a developer, an advocate, or anything. So thanks everybody again for being part of these discussions, and we'll see everyone next week.